You can actually predict almost anything. It has unlimited potential. That is?
What?
That's your immediate future. No money in there, but there is something that refers to you in there. Name, what month were you born in? January. When in January?
7th.
January the 7th, right? Do me a favor, would you name a short word, any word at all in the English language? A? And. Okay, you scared me for a minute because I thought you said A right there. But that's interesting because most ladies, when you ask them to choose a word, they say something like the word cat or love or something like that. But you said the word and. Now, I was standing over there on the other side a minute ago and I was looking at you. And you know what doodling is? It's when you kind of scribble without even looking. And I was doodling, I wasn't even looking. But I put it inside here. Hey, let me show you. And I was thinking about when you might be born. And I was thinking about what words you might say. And I placed it inside here. I'll show you. Look. You said January the what?
7th.
And what word?
And.
A-N-D? Now again, I wasn't looking when I wrote it, but if you take a look, you'll see. January 7th.
Snap!
Hold out your hand for me.
Sure.
Any clue what that might be?
It's like a billfold wallet.
It is a billfold wallet, but it's more than that. It's your future. But don't get too excited again.
Right? Oh,
it's only your immediate future. What month were you born in?
March.
March, the 3rd month. When in March?
March 12th.
March 12th?
Correct.
Did you know that?
I didn't.
Now you do, and you're going to have to get him a present on that. Name a short word, any short word at all.
Remember, Bowser.
Cabbage.
Cabbage? That's a short word?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Syllables.
No, well, it's interesting because usually when you tell a woman to choose a short word, she chooses a word like love or something like that, or she chooses the word like
were
cat or
talking
something.
about cabbage.
But you didn't. You actually think outside of the box, and that's what's pretty amazing. I was standing over there, and that's why I wanted to come talk to you too, because I was thinking about when might you be born? And I was thinking about if I asked you to choose a word, what word would you choose? And well, let me show you. I told you this is your immediate future. It's now your past. I was doodling. You know what doodling is?
I beg your pardon?
Doodling is, you know what that is?
No, I do not.
Doodling is when you scribble without even looking. You subconsciously think.
Sure.
And that's what I was doing as I was looking at you. I didn't look at it. E's, O's, A's are hard to write like that.
Yeah.
S's are hard to write like that. But I managed to get it written. I didn't even look when I folded it. You said you were born what?
March 12th.
3/12?
Oh my God.
And you did say cabbage,
wow. Wow. Okay, yeah. Wow. Holy cow. It's great. No kidding. Wow.
Cabbage.
Cabbage. Oh, and you wrote cabbage.
And
oh my
cabbage.
God.
I got you both.
Incredible. I'm incredibly impressed by that.
Thank you. What month were you born in?
You want me to actually tell you?
Yeah.
April.
April. What's that, the 4th month?
Yes.
Good. When in April?
The day?
Yeah.
April 9th.
The 9th, okay. Do me a favor, name any short word at all in the English language.
Tall.
T-A-L-L?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting because I'm not tall. That means I wouldn't influence you to choose that. Most women, when you ask them to choose a word or something like that, they go with cat or they go with the word love or something like that. But right after I got done talking to the gentleman behind me, I stepped over here while they were talking to you and I was looking at you both. And I was thinking about when might you be born? What month might you be born in? And I was thinking about if I asked you to choose a word, would you choose the word like cat or the word like love? Or would you choose something outside of the box? And well, let me show you because I placed something inside here. I even folded it up. Now I don't know how neat it is because you know what doodling is? Doodling is when you scribble without even looking, right? I was looking at you and I was writing. 9s are really hard to write like that. A's are hard to write like that. But I think if you take a look, you can see 4-9 and the word tall.
What?
Go ahead.
I will shake your hand for that one.
Yeah, that
Thank
is
you.
good. Oh my God.
So to start out, I'm going to ask this. Is there anybody here that's good with numbers? Anybody that's good with numbers? Anybody? Not a single person in the entire... You're good with numbers? Kind of, sort of, here is he. Come on up. Give him a big round of applause, please. Step up here. Yep. And if you'll step around me, please, and come over here to my right-hand side, I'm going to give you a marker, and I'm going to give you a pad. And there's some lines on there. There's 4 lines. I'm going to get 4 numbers from 4 different people. And what you're going to do is you're going to write the numbers on there. Don't do anything until I tell you to, okay? So let's start right over here. I'm going to ask a few people to stand. I'll ask you to stand for me, please. Yes. I'll ask the gentleman right there to stand for me, please. I'm going to ask, let's go with the gentleman right back there. If you're looking around at you, usually. Yes. No, the gentleman. You didn't look around. He did. Yes. Yeah. Stand up for me, please. No. You were looking around. Stand up. Yes, good. All right, you're going to be more difficult for me to work with than these, and that's okay. I can see that already. The gentleman right there, if you'll stand up, okay, good. Look at me, please. Look at my right hand, if you will. Just keep looking at my right hand. Keep looking. Give me a 2-digit number out loud right now. 25. Put that at the very top. It's exactly the number that I wanted, so thank you very much. Look at my left hand, please. Look at my left hand. 2-digit number out loud now. 37. Exactly what I wanted. Perfect. Good. Again, I think you're going to be a little more difficult, but that's okay. I think I can fix it with him. Look at my right hand, please. 2-digit number out loud.
29.
29? Okay, go ahead. Put it down. Good. Can you put that down for a second? I need all of your attention on me right now for a second, okay? Look at my left hand, if you will. Don't say anything. Get a number in your head. Add 3 to it for me. Yes, add 3 to it. Out loud, please. 5. Good. That's exactly. Go ahead, write that down if you will. We didn't talk about this before the show, did we? We didn't talk about this. We didn't. Okay. Stay standing for a second. Would you total those numbers up for me, please? Just total those up on there. You did say you're pretty good with numbers. Probably not helping you the fact that I'm talking to you, so I will shut up for 1 second.
Okay.
All right. Yep. You sure that's right? Double check it just to make sure. Because I would not want to embarrass you on a penguin lecture.
Yeah, no.
Yep. You got it?
Hasn't happened yet. Yeah, all set.
You're right about that? Okay, good. And again, we did not talk about this before the show, did we? You had no clue you're going to help me with this. Is that right? You had no clue you're going to help me. You had no clue. You had no clue. You may all have a seat. Thank you very much. But here's the problem with this, is I could ask you, if we talked about this before the show, you could lie, all right? And you could have just been told to add those numbers up. So they total what number?
96.
Yeah, so turn the pad around so everybody else can actually see it. That way they can total it for themselves. Now, I'm often asked, Banachek, is there anybody in your family that can do the exact same things that you can do? I have an uncle. My uncle knew the exact day and time he was going to die. Nothing amazing there. The judge told him. But I do have a little nephew. My little nephew's pretty amazing. My little nephew, the moment that I told him I was coming here to Ohio, he ran into my office, he grabbed a Post-it note, and he scribbled something down. Now, he's just learning how to read and write, so he doesn't read and write very well. But he folded it up, and he gave it to me, and he asked me to open it up here. I placed it inside of this wallet, and it's been here since that time. And as you notice, it was sitting here the entire time. And like I said, he is just learning how to read and write. You said 96? Would you tell everybody what number's on there?
It's 96.
96. You can have that. Thank you very much. I'll take the marker. You may have a seat. So what enables me to do those miracles on stage or even close up? It's a powerful, powerful tool. It's an old tool, ancient as the hills, but nobody ever uses it. And I'm always shocked that nobody ever does it. In fact, many, many years ago, when I was fairly young, in my 20s, I went to a thing that Doc Hilford had. It was a convention. And just privately, we were standing around. It was me, Doc Hilford, and a few other fantastic mentalists that were well known at the time and are still well known today, top of their field. And so I did this for Doc, and they were all amazed. They had no clue how I did it. And I was very shocked. I thought everybody used this technique. Not a single one of them was using this technique. And the effect that I did for Doc was a little bit different. One of the things that I used to do was, and there was a version of this I did for him and the other guys, was I asked the person to imagine, I take something out and I put it in their hand and I say, do you know what that is? And there's obviously nothing there. They say, no, they don't know. I say, well, it's an invisible palm-top computer. And I say, they're hard to find, so be careful with it. I want you to go ahead and turn it on. And they go like that. And I go, no, you got to open it up first to turn it on. I do all the bad brainwave jokes and stuff like that with it, so he turns it on. I say, down on the right-hand side, there's a little D right there. Go ahead and hit that D. It's short for dictionary. Now, and then I turn to somebody else and I say, I took all the original words out of there. I put 750 of my favorite words in there, all 4 letters or less. I say, I want you to name a number from 1 to 750. And they name a number. And then I tell the person, I go ahead, punch those numbers in. And as you look at it, you're going to see that a word will just come up. It'll come up. It may take a few seconds, but it's going to be 7 letters or less. Go ahead, tell me what the word is. And maybe they say house or something like that. I say, so we have house, and you said page 700 and whatever it was. And then what I do is I pulled out the prediction, and it has the page number on it, and it actually has the word that came up in the dictionary. So yeah, so it's an invisible sort of like a book test, and that's what I did for Doc back then. In fact, when I did it back then, we didn't have Palm Talk computers. What we had were these little Rolodexes, electronic Rolodexes. And you younger guys won't remember this, but we were quite happy when they came out because we didn't have to carry a little notebook. What we do is we type every single name in, every single phone number, and that's about all you got in there. I don't think we even put the addresses in, but we put that in there, and then you carry it around, and you'd be that important guy that has this new technology. And then the battery would go bad, and there was no flash drives back in that day, so you'd lose all the information, but we didn't worry. You know, it was just convenient for us, much more now you guys would have a hard time with that, but we'd put all the names and all the numbers back in, so I call it an invisible Rolodex back then. So again, I started wondering myself, why are none of these people using this technique? And I started asking around, and then I found out that it was because a lot of these guys would get caught the first time they tried it. And I started thinking about that, and I realized that they didn't understand the psychology behind it. If you use the right psychology and you understand all the subtleties that go with it, you probably will never ever get caught. Maybe your first time or something like that, but I doubt it. If you listen to everything that I tell you, you won't get caught. But if you leave some of them out, you probably will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you all of the subtleties that go with this technique. And I will tell you this. There have been a few books out there, booklets I would call them. One of them by John Riggs, which is quite good. One of them was by Mark Strivings. But my PDF that you're going to get with this download covers every single subtlety, every detail. It gives you routines that you can perform with this, close-up routines, staged routines. So there's a lot you can do with this. I call it unlimited, simply because I believe that almost every single ESP effect, every single prediction effect, and even some of just the straight telepathy effects can be accomplished with this technique. Of course, you can't do mind over matter things with it, or maybe somebody will figure out a way to do that. I don't know. But it truly is that much of a powerful tool. What I do like about it is the usual description of this effect. The usual name of this effect is exactly what it is as well. I even like that. It's not like a Goo Goo Dolls song, like where you get the song Iris, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the song as far as you know. Maybe it's something in their head or personal, but you can't pick it out of there. And it's called pocket writing. And now that you heard that it's pocket writing, you know you're writing in your pocket, you go, oh, okay. No, it's not, oh, okay. That's why you're going to get caught, because you're going, oh, okay, and you're just going to go out and do it. Don't do that. Learn these subtleties, understand them before you go out there and do this, and you will have a powerful tool that you'll be able to do on TV shows, you'll be able to do it in walk around, you'll be able to do it on stage, you'll be able to perform effects that are exceedingly powerful, and you'll be able to get booked time and time again from this technique alone. So the very first thing that you need to know about pocket writing is you are writing in your pocket, so you're not going to get to see what you're writing, and I'll cover how to get your handwriting being a little bit neater, or at least passable. But let's start out with what you need. What you need is a board. And what I mean by that is you need a writing board. Now, I like to recycle things. I like to be able to show up at a location. If my suitcase doesn't show, I can still perform. So hotel key, that's the first thing that you can use, all right? And Post-it note pads. You can go to the store, get Post-it note pads. They used to come in this size, a little harder to find now, but you can always get a Post-it note pad cut down if you just go over to the book center over there, or the copy center area, and just say, hey, I need to get it cut down so it's this size. Take the top sheet of the Post-it note. Oh, the other thing about the Post-it notes is my favorite thing, Post-it note glue. I take the back of the Post-it note and I rub it completely all the way down, all over the back, and then I stick it on the hotel key. I use Post-it note glue. You can just use regular rubber cement or something like that, and that'll be just as good, because, but then you'll have to change your key out later on because you'll have all this cement on it and everything. Rubber cement, not so bad, but permanent glue or something like that will be. But hotel keys are a dime a dozen. So you put it on there, you fold it in half. Now with a Post-it note, you can actually fold it one more time if you wanted to. I would suggest you don't do that, because you'll get into the habit of doing that, and you don't want to do that if you're going to use the other type of board. And the other type of board is a board that I used for many, many years, and it's a business card holder. Basically, once again, I have Q&A pads that have a backing, a cardboard backing like that. And what I have done, let me show you. is I've cut it, and you can see that this one is well used, and I cut 2 little notches on the side right there. It doesn't have to look good, not professional, nobody's ever going to see this. Business cards go on it, and the rubber band goes around. And the reason you have those notches is that will just hold the band in place, so when you actually do slide a card out, the band doesn't go with it. I make sure that I've cut an extra piece on this because I can, all right, because it's going to help me, because this is what's going to happen. This is going to sit in my pocket, and when it sits in my pocket, that will hold it up a little bit higher and make it easier for me to write on. Again, you don't want to fold this into quarters, because if you fold it once and you fold it twice and open it back up, you end up with deep creases the thicker the cardboard gets. So this is thicker than Post-it notes. So what will happen is when you pocket write, sometimes the pencil or pen or whatever you're using will skip over one of those little creases right there, and you might lose a crucial piece of information. Like if you're writing down the number 312, you might miss the 1 or you might miss the 2 or something like that. And again, this just sits in your pocket. This is great for business cards because you hand out your business card at the end, people are going to have your prediction. I prefer, just for me, to use the Post-it note, and I have that in my pocket. The other thing that you will now need is a writing tool. I like to use pencils, and they're usually about this size. I cut them down. These are just made out of golf pencils. It doesn't have to be perfect, but what does have to be perfect is that you want to make sure that the point is not sharp, all right? So I blunt these down a little bit. You can get pencil sharpeners that will sharpen very sharp point or a much smaller point, okay? And this is what I use right there, and I put it in there before I actually break it in half, because otherwise it's hard to get to. And then I take it and I rub it down and make sure that the end is smooth, because I don't want the point to break in my pocket. I've never had one break. I always keep an extra 1 or 2 in my pocket just in case. A lot of times when people start pocket writing, the very first thing they say is, oh, I wish I could write in pen, because everything I do in my show is pen. Now that's just magician thinking, and I don't mean to get hard on magicians at all, but I am a mentalist. I came from mentalism originally. I didn't come from magic and go into mentalism. In fact, I didn't even know there was a subset of magic called mentalism when I started. I just know that there were certain guys that conned scientists into believing they were genuine. That's all that I knew, and they used tricks. So that's how I started. So I started wanting to look like a real psychic in my very early days, so I could convince scientists that I was genuine. So magic thinking, is the kind of thing like, oh, I use a pen in my show, so the prediction should be in pen as well. Well, first of all, it's a prediction. You made it earlier, so it makes absolutely no difference what it's in. And I got to tell you, if you take a prediction and you open it up, and it's an astounding prediction, you just predicted a word and their birth date or something like that, and you show that to them, and they go, oh my God, and they stop and go, well, wait a minute, that's written in pencil, and you use a pen in your show, you've got a lot bigger problems than simply people worrying about whether it's in pencil or pen or something like that. You're doing something majorly wrong. They should be astounded by the prediction in itself. But if you insist on taking a pen, cutting it all the way down, putting the cap back in and saying, look, I made the very first pen writer, well, you are wrong. There is a reason that we don't make pen writers. I know a lot of people that have done it and thought that they were very clever doing it. I even tried it in my early days and thought I was clever, and I quickly realized my mistake. And the mistake is this. When you write in your pocket, you are going to be writing upside down. What that means is that the ink is going to be moving away from the nib. Not only that, because you've cut it down, you are limiting the amount of ink that you have in that pen. And if you do this a lot, sooner or later, you're going to run out of ink anyway. But you'll end up with nothing on your prediction. There's nothing worse than pulling out a prediction, say, oh, and I predicted, and there's absolutely nothing on there. Okay, there is no way to get around that unless you say, oh, I put invisible ink so you can't see it. It's a secret. But that's all you could do, and that's kind of a crappy thing to do. So you definitely don't want to use a pen. Now, if you decide that you want to make it look like a pen, and you're insisting on that for I don't know what reason, you can go ahead and just get yourself a very dark blue pencil, cut that down and use that. They have no context if they're not seeing the pencil with it, so they won't know it's in pencil. It'll look like it's actually in blue ink. One of the things that I like to do is sometimes keep in my pocket is also a black crayon. If I write it in a black crayon, it will also look like a Sharpie or a marker and that. But normally I just keep the pencils in my pocket, and I'll have 2 or 3 extra ones in my pocket that will stay inside there, and I'll write with those. Now, the way that you write, like I said, is you actually pull it up, and it's hard to do it without my pocket holding everything in place. I'm going to have to use my extra hand. Normally you don't need to do that. And then, let's say I ask them for their birthday, and they say they were born in November, so I put 11 right there. And let's say they say the 2nd of November, so now I put a 2. and then they say a word. I say a short word. It's really hard to write like this with the pocket holding it, because the pocket holds it for you. And then let's say they say a word, and let's say they try to be a smart, you know what, and they say, oh, okay, I'm going to go with the word word. Okay, so now you're right. This drops, this comes over, you fold, you want to turn it over. I like turning it over if it's a Post-it note, because the sticky side is on the inside. I don't have to see what I'm doing. I'm looking at you as I do that. I fold it again. This all drops, and it all drops down into your pocket, and now you're ready to go. In most of my demonstrations that I've done for this tutorial, I've used this wallet. This is a Strivings wallet. Strivings wallet you can get from Mark Strivings. It's a great little apparatus, and it's a very, very simple little apparatus. You can actually make a wallet and just put a slit in the back, but this is made so that you can stick your fingers through the back of it, and so this just sits on top of here at any point. If I want to, I can actually stick the prediction in there, so it's just right there like that if I want to, and then I can open it up and pull the prediction out here like this. The other great thing about the Strivings wallet is before I even start, I can act like I'm putting a prediction in there before I put it on their hand or set it on the table. I could walk out on the stage and go, oh, let me check and make sure, oh yeah, I do have it in there. So it's just a little convincer, make sure it's not showing, goes on the table like that, and your prediction is underneath, and you're gesturing, you're talking, and then what you do is you bring out the prediction, you show that you made it earlier, you open it up, and it doesn't have to be perfectly folded, and then you open it up, and it looks like it's sealed, and you show that you got 11-2 and word. And I did it in the crayon right there so you can actually see it, just like that. Now, where do you want to pull the prediction from? Normally, I wouldn't use a wallet. The only time, there's a few places I use a wallet. One, if I'm working for magicians, I will use a wallet. Sometimes I'll use it on stage if this is going to be an actual effect, just because it's right there. But think about it. If you're really a psychic, why would you take if I was psychic, I wouldn't take a piece of paper that I've made a prediction on, stuff it inside a wallet, put it in a zipper compartment and all that. What would I do with it? I would just simply stick it in my pocket, right? And that's what I would do. And I would leave it there. And then when I needed it, I would want to bring it out. So a lot of times, I don't even carry a wallet. I just do my pocket right and say, you know what, earlier on, I made a prediction. And I got it in here somewhere. Hold on. And you can see my hands. I don't say this, but you can see my hands empty because I'm pulling things out. And then I go down in there and I actually pull the prediction out, and there it is right there, and it's right here, and I can pull it out very slowly so they can see I'm not writing anything with the display, and open it up. It's very convincing, and all that I'm actually doing is when I come over, I'm just dropping it in as I pull something out of my pocket like that, and pull that out of my pocket. It's inside there now. And when I come out, the display is just with 2 fingers like that. It's just as strong as using a wallet. And again, it's not sort of that magic thinking in a way. It looks a little bit more psychic when you pull it out that way. Like I said, I do use the wallet sometimes. If I'm working a trade show, I'll take my wallet, and if you don't have a crowd, you want to generate a crowd. That's always the hardest point, generating that crowd, and you want to get those first couple of people into your booth. So I'll walk out, and I'll step out, and I'll put it in their hand. I'll say, excuse me, I'll hold your hand out, and they do it almost automatically, and before they can pull their hand away, I put the wallet in their hand. And I say, I think I have something that's yours. Is that yours? And they almost always say no. Of course, they could say yes and run off with it. They go, no, that's not mine. I go, actually it is. It's your future. But it's only your immediate future. Do me a favor. Come step inside of my booth. So now I've got that person in my booth. And usually they have somebody else with them as well. So now what I'm doing is I'm talking to them, and I'm asking them what month they're born in, what day. And I'm taking my time with that, because I'm preferably looking for anybody else walking by. And then I'll point to somebody out on the side, and I say, excuse me, would you mind helping this gentleman for a second? I don't say, would you mind helping me, because they see me as a salesperson. But to help that person, they usually don't have a problem with it. They're going to help another attendee. So now from that person, I might get their birth date, and this person, I may ask them to name a short word. When that's brought out of there, I usually now at this point have 4 or 5 people in front of me, because this person has 1 or 2 people with him, and this person has 2 people. I've started to create a crowd, and it's such an impossible thing that they want to see more. So it's a great way to start a trade show. It's kind of a nice way to actually be able to walk up to a table and just put it on the table and say, do you know what that is? And you get right into it if you're doing walk around. But normally, I would not use this. Now, why do magicians tend to get caught with this? Well, I think there are multiple reasons. One reason is because of congruency. And what I mean by that is when I do a center tear, and that's where you tear a secret piece of the paper out so you can actually read it secretly. I want to tear it again. and I want to add it back to the pieces. Some guys will actually burn it, but I don't like burning things. I want to leave them with the evidence. So if they want to go through that paper and check and make sure I didn't tear a piece out or make sure I didn't switch paper, they can actually do it with my center tear. But my hands go behind my back to tear that last piece or under my jacket like that. So at the very beginning stages, I will consistently put my hands behind my back. I'll have one hand behind my back as I'm talking, the other hand, when I'm facing the other way, my hands will go behind my back. So it becomes part of my body language. Because if the only time my hand went behind my back was in that moment, they would go, well, what's he doing behind his back? He's never had his... There's something that just doesn't seem right, doesn't stand out. And it's the same thing with pocket writing. If you see me perform pocket writing on stage, I do a lot of times where I'll say, I want you to just take a look at my left hand, and I'll turn to somebody else, take a look at my right hand as I get numbers and different things like that. And what's happening is my hands are in my pocket, this hand stays in the pocket, that hand goes back into the pocket like that hand goes out. So they're getting used to my hands being in my pocket, they're getting used to that body language, so that the moment that I pocket write, it's not just my hand going in my pocket. And that's the other thing, you don't just want one hand in your pocket when you pocket write. If you can, put both hands in your pocket. Don't lean into that pocket and go, because it's almost like you're saying, hey, look, I'm doing something down here. You don't want to be doing that. You want to be very relaxed as you do it. The other thing is to keep the attention on the people. Get them talking to each other. Say, have you ever blah, 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 and say, oh, have you, what's your birthday? November. When? November the 2nd? Did you know that was his birthday? So all the attention goes there. Did you know that was his birthday? Well, now you're going to have to buy him a gift. And it's at that moment that I'm writing. I'm getting them to look at each other. I'm getting them to laugh. So there's sort of that offbeat moment. The other thing when you pocket write is, I can do it without a jacket. I prefer to have a jacket, but I get the misdirection, by talking to the people. But if you're going to do it, you don't want your hands going in front of your jacket like that. What you want is your hands coming under your jacket. That means that the jacket's going to be hiding it, because the last thing you want to be doing is something like this. It looks like something you shouldn't probably be doing as a man, all right? So, especially in public. So the jacket goes in front of it, just like this. You're very sort of relaxed as you're talking and you're doing these things. Also, if I'm doing it on stage, people are further away, so they see my whole profile. So if I'm doing an add a number thing or something like that, I'll have another spectator up on stage, and since I'm right-handed, I write in my right pocket, that person will be standing here. I'll be leaning and talking to them and getting them to talk to the audience, or getting them to add the numbers, so nobody can see what's going on right over here. Let's talk a little bit about the bad handwriting, because when you do pocket writing, sometimes the handwriting is bad, and in this day and age, you'll get a lot of skeptical people who will look at it, and even if it looks something like an 8, they'll kind of go, I don't know, it could be this, it could be that. So you want to get around that. So I always point out the elephant in the room. I have multiple excuses for why my handwriting might be bad. One of the excuses is I didn't make the prediction. My little nephew made a prediction, and he's just learning how to read and write. Now, if the person pulls out and looks at the prediction, if they say, oh, that handwriting's bad, they're not insulting me, they're insulting a little kid. It makes them look like a jerk. So they're not going to do that. I remind him, he's just learning how to read and write. I don't know how neat it is. Take a look. And he's going to look at it, and he's going to think that it was written by a 7-year-old. Another excuse I have, I say, you know what, on the way here, I had a premonition. Something came to me, and I try to do something that you shouldn't do when you're driving. No, not that. What I try to do was write and drive. Have you try to write and drive at the same time, and you look at it afterwards, you go, what the heck is that? Well, everybody can relate to that, because we've almost all tried to write something while we're driving, and the handwriting looks horrible. Everybody can relate to that. So you point that out. You say you made the prediction while you're driving. You didn't even really get to look at it. You folded it up, you placed it in your pocket, and you start to pull it out. One of the other things that I do usually when I'm walking around is I ask them, I say, do you know what doodling is? And then I explain what doodling is. I was over there just a minute ago, and I was looking over here, and I was thinking about when you might be born. I was thinking about what word you might choose. And I was doodling at the same time. Now, doodling is when you kind of scribble without even looking. You do it subconsciously. And I wrote something down, I folded it up, not very neat, and I placed it in my pocket, or whatever, you place it wherever you placed it. And then what you do is you talk about a little bit, you say, yeah, when you write without even looking like that, subconsciously, O's are really hard to write, 8's are hard to write, so I don't know how good it looks, but I think you can make it out. So when you bring it out, you've already pointed out that the handwriting necessarily isn't going to be so good. I think a lot of magicians should be using this technique, not just mentalists, because it's a great out to have in your pocket for when something actually goes wrong. Let's say you're practicing a classic force and you've never done it before, but you're getting pretty good at it, but you miss once in a while. So what happens? You fan the cards out, you go to somebody, take a card, you think you've hit it. Maybe you don't quite see the right card, or you're forcing the wrong card because it's the card over or something like that. You turn to them and you say, What was your card? Was your card the 6 of hearts? And they go, no. You go, really? What was your card? And he goes, 2 of clubs. You go, oh my God, really? 2 of clubs? Wait a minute, that's weird. On the way here tonight, I had a premonition that I would do this, and one time I would be wrong. You're not going to believe this. Here, I put it inside here, and let me see if I put it. Yeah, I got it in, and you bring it out, and you show it to them, and it's the right card. So what you've done is you've actually saved yourself from a very bad, embarrassing moment where the trick actually went out. I also keep it in my pocket when I'm on stage just for the right moment. Now, here's the thing. We've all had cell phone go off. You know, we know people that don't turn their cell phones off. And usually they're just a selfish jerk who sits in the audience who just thinks they're so self-important and doesn't realize they're already busy being at your show. But not always. You can't always assume that. Look, I've had my cell phone sitting on stage and it's gone off. And so if I'm doing that to myself, I'm not trying to ruin my own show. I've had to pick it up and go, yeah, hi honey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm on stage right now. Meanwhile, the person on the other side of the phone is yelling at me, why'd you answer the phone in the middle of your show? They don't know that. I say, here, everybody tell her hi. You know, they all say hi. They all say hi. Yes, they all love you too. And meanwhile, that person's probably calling me an asshole or whatever. But anyway, oh, I can't say that on this tape, can I? Because there's kids watching. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't say that. Zip, take that out. Yeah, okay, it's still in the tape, I know. But anyway, so you know, they're yelling and screaming at me. You know, I turn it off, put it down. So if I can do that to myself, I cannot assume that that person in the audience is also a selfish jerk. Maybe they meant to turn their phone off, they completely forgot. Maybe they came in late, they were rushing. There's a million reasons they might have left their phone on, all right? So it's all happened, and it's probably the most embarrassing thing that as a performer, if I'm in the audience and my phone goes off, it's extremely embarrassing because I should know better. So I'm not going to embarrass them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bad moment, and I'm going to turn it into an incredible, almost standing ovation moment. I turn, no, it's okay. You know, we all do it. It happens sometimes. I know you were told to turn it off, but you completely forgot. I've done that as well. It's okay. No, don't be embarrassed, please. Tell me, who was calling you? And they say that Mary was calling them. And I say, and on what time was it? And they say what time it was. I say, you know what, on the way here I had a premonition that even though we would tell everybody to turn off their cell phones, there would be one person that didn't. And so you said it, Mary, and you said it was 7:37, is that correct? Yeah? Here, I placed it inside there, and what you do is you pull things out of your pocket, you come out, you open it up, you give it to somebody in the front row, they open it up, and it says Mary, and it says 7:37. What you've done is you've taken a really bad moment and you've turned it into an incredible effect. And also at that moment you can say, now ladies and gentlemen, I don't have any other predictions in my pocket, so please make sure you turn off your cell phones. Now don't think of this as just a simple little thing because you've got a couple of pencils and papers. It's really truly a strong effect, and I'm going to tell you in just a second how strong this is and what it has done for me. But before I do that, I want you to realize there are little ways to get your handwriting to be even better. And I wanted to touch on this, even though every single subtlety is indeed in the PDF. Make sure you go through there. There's a lot more inside there. But little ways that you can improve your handwriting. 8s are really hard to write, as I said earlier. So you want to write an 8 as an S, all right? And I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, and maybe you think it doesn't quite look like an 8, and it doesn't, but that's okay. But it's going to look more like an 8 than some of the 8s that you will write. The other thing that sometimes I will do is if it's a difficult number like a 9 or an 8, like a 9, I'll do a circle, 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 line, 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 line. But if you're going to do that, or like an 8, circle, 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 and then another circle, 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 hopefully they hit and they join at some point. But if you're going to do that, if it's 128, you want to go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 over itself, then 2, and try to get the 2, just go back and forth, and then the 8, and the 8 like that, all right? So that's kind of one way to do it. Another way is if you write in cursive, you may want to try to print in your pocket. If you normally print, you may want to try to write in cursive. You can also abbreviate things as well, like if somebody says supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, I would just put down supercali. That's enough for people to know that you actually got the word itself, just having a part of the word. And even if you just get the first 3 letters of some word or 4 letters of a word, you can say, I didn't get the whole thing, but I know I got part of it, you pull it out. That's still absolutely impressive. Years ago, I was working a show, and there were a lot of wealthy people there. I was getting paid really good money to perform. And after the show, somebody came up to me and they said, can you tell me what I do for a living? Now, this happens to me all the time. As a mentalist, it always happens to you. But you do so many impossible things on stage, and you're getting in other people's heads that they want you to get inside of their head. I have a million excuses for why I can't do something after a show. My show is structured in the way right now, the show I have now, that all the prediction stuff is at the end. So as a result of all the prediction stuff being at the end, it's like I can't read minds. That's why I do that, because I get tired halfway through. Anyway, I got a million reasons. But sometimes it's nice to do one extra thing. And if you have this in this pocket, it's great. So this gentleman came up to me, and obviously he had a lot of money. I could tell by his shoes, by the watch that he was wearing and everything. And he said, "Tell me what I do for a living." And I go, "Excuse me, what did you say?" Because I'm trying to put emphasis on what he just asked me, make sure that it's important. He said, "Tell me what I do for a living." I said, "Oh my God, I can't believe this." On the way here, I had a premonition that somebody was going to ask me to tell them what they do for a living. "Tell me what you do for a living." And he says, "No, you tell me." And I said, no, trust me on this. I'm going to be as amazed as you are. I'm going to be just as amazed if this is what I think it is, because I can't believe this is happening right now. Trust me, tell me what you do for a living. And he said, "Gynecologist." I went, "Oh my God, that's a long word." But I abbreviated it to GYN. And then I said, "Look, you're not going to believe this. I can't believe this." I handed it to him. It said GYN, short for gynecologist. He opened it up. And that guy has hired me every single year since then, sometimes twice a year, and he pays me a lot of money to perform. Why? All because I had a broken pencil in my pocket, I had a couple of pieces of Post-it note, and a hotel key card. So do not pass this off as something simple, something light that you should just say, put it in the drawer. Work with this, play with it, and it'll be one of the strongest things that you do, and you can build a reputation with this. And once you start playing with it, once you start practicing it, leave us a review at penguinmagic.com.